The dad can't believe that somebody would just leave his little girl wandering in this huge park alone. Now, the Misa del Pueblo that Father Kevin was referring to translates to Mass of the community or the neighborhood. And I'm going to step behind the camera just to give you a better visual and so you can understand exactly what happened. So 75-year-old Brookie Wilmore was traveling southbound on State Road 19 when she managed to swerve over the turn lane and got in front of a red pickup truck that was traveling north, and about right there is where we saw the two cars end up this morning. You might remember last month there was water pouring over the side of the road. Kind of looked like a waterfall, but now that that water's clear, you see a crumbling road that desperately needs to be fixed. And Facebook has a data screen that's tracking the who, what, where, why, and when people are talking on Facebook, and this week, as expected, the conversation around Hillary Clinton has spiked. And police said this crime happened around 3:30 this morning. You can see behind me, police and crime techs are still on the scene and think everything's fine until they check Facebook. Facility over here, pretty far along, the walls are up, but over here, the other half, a little less work has been done, a little more bare. But let me give you a closer look at just how unsafe this situation is. So I'm going to zoom in so that you can see just where this pole has broken. Down here is the base where the pole snapped, so there's not much support there. But if you go up to the wires, you'll see that the pole is resting right there, just on two wires. Hey Colleen, well, I can tell you what I see right now. 3 police cars, police on the scene, some crime scene tape is up. I'm gonna step behind the camera just to give you a bigger, closer look to exactly what is going on right here. See right here, we see this tan Mercury Mystique. That's the same model involved in an Amber Alert out of Fort Wayne. Not only does the model match, but also that license plate right there, you can see 982MJS. And I just want to say that we don't know the status of the 2 children that were reported missing earlier this morning. Neither do we know the whereabouts of the 2 people who were accused of taking them, that man and the woman. We do know the kids' names in that Amber Alert. Liliana Hernandez, she's a 7-year-old girl with brown hair, and Renee Pastor, a 6-year-old little boy. The suspects now, the police believe that it's their mother who is accused of taking them, Amber Pastor. She does not have custody of the 2 kids, and also another man was with her, 65-year-old Frank McComber, both of Fort Wayne is what we've been told. Right now, though, the scene is still active. We're still trying to get more information from police, so as soon as we get more details, we'll be sure to pass that along to you. Reporting live in Elkhart tonight, Andreina Centlivre, ABC 57 News. Yep, Brian, that's exactly why I started with finding out what was going to happen to the little girl and her dad after this traumatic experience. The dad is now facing child neglect charges, and the little girl has been taken away by her family by Child Protective Services. I talked to a family service who will most likely see this case, and they say since 2014, they've seen a rise in the number of kids being taken away from their homes because of drug use. Here on Lincoln Way in LaPorte, another overdose happened on July 4th.
No idea how he got there. Didn't seem like he was too concerned where his child was at the time when I spoke to him.
Deputy John Samuelson was called to the LaPorte hospital Monday night because a man in his late 20s had been left near the entrance. He was overdosing and had his 14-month-old daughter with him.
It affects an innocent child, which I take to heart. That's a case that I'm not a fan of going to work, but that's also a case I take very seriously.
The man told Deputy Samuelson he had taken Xanax in the morning, blacked out, and may have taken heroin. Child Protective Services was called, and thankfully the little girl has a grandma to take care of her. But now the father, 28-year-old Michael Urdo, faces child neglect charges, and this case will be taken to a judge.
We're a social service agency that primarily works with children and families that are involved in the court system.
Karen Bernacki is the CEO of Family Advocates, and she will most likely take on the 14-month-old's case and provide a court-mandated representative for the child.
So we've seen a high increase in the number of cases that we get involved in because of substance abuse, primarily opiate use, heroin.
Bernacki says these cases have been on the rise since 2014, and now 90% of the parents they deal with have a drug problem.
Most of them need to detox before they can even go into inpatient. And there aren't very many services available for people to detox.
Bernacki says for the past 2 years, she's seen way too many people, and not just the users, affected by drugs.
I mean, there's such a huge gamma of needs when you're looking at the effects of substance abuse in a community. And really, the victims, the real vulnerable victims, are the children.
Now, Bernanke also told me there are months where they'll get up to 30 kids in their system, and they just don't have enough volunteers to keep up with that work. So for more information on how you can help out, that'll be posted along with this story at abc57.com. They're grateful that no one was hurt and say that it's been about 4 years since they were last robbed, and now just days after the Prairie Street overpass opens, 2 suspects show up, one with a gun, demanding that they empty the cash register. The one who came in with the gun, his eyes looked really, really red. A waitress at Taqueria Tijuana in Elkhart describes to me in Spanish her face-to-face encounter with this masked man who robbed the restaurant at gunpoint Monday night. The waitress is too shaken up to show her face and describes how hard it was to even sleep last night. I'd close my eyes and see the man with the mask. Here you can see 2 suspects running towards the restaurant. One stays outside, the other is the masked man who demanded money. I asked if there was anything suspicious that happened before the robbery went down. The only car that was outside was the only thing suspicious. They had been outside for like 15 minutes. After reviewing the surveillance video, employees say they are wary of this Chevrolet. The driver pulls up, then a few minutes later repositions the car to face the lot's exit. But the suspects didn't escape in that car. Instead, they ran under the new overpass. When I talked to the employees at the restaurant, they said that this overpass does look very nice, but at night it can get very dark and secluded, and they feel as though last night it may have created the perfect escape route.
We haven't heard of anything, going on as far as, any crime-related things going on because that is opened up.
Chris Snyder with the Elkhart Police Department says, if anything, the Prairie Street Bridge makes that area more accessible to officers.
With the overpass being open now, it'll make things a lot easier for our officers to get there and get there, in a more timely fashion.
Faster response time to an area where employees at Taqueria Tijuana think will now attract more crime. The alley back there, they didn't put lights in the back, and I think that it's going to result in more things happening. Hey, Brian, well, the dad can't believe that somebody would just leave his little girl wandering in this huge park alone. Now, he and his wife are grateful for the woman who not only helped the lost toddler, but also broke the news to them. Potawatomi Park is full of children having a good time. But on Wednesday, the 62-acre park became a scary place for one little girl.
This little 3-year-old, she was lost. Then she ended up crying on the sidewalk.
Joy Madden was at the park around 1 o'clock when she approached the lost toddler.
She said that daycare left.
Not believing someone could forget about a child so young, Joy went looking for answers and adults.
We ended up walking around the park a couple times, and next thing you know, it was like 45 minutes to an hour.
At this point, Joy turned to a police officer for help who began calling nearby daycares.
I see this girl running up to us, and she explained who she was. She was the manager of the daycare. I was like, okay. So they left. And it just didn't feel right.
Left with an uneasy feeling, Joy turned to Facebook to share what happened with local parents. The post has hundreds of shares and hit one mom and dad especially hard.
I was never told by any employee of the daycare where my daughter was found or that she was left at the park. The only way that we found out was through social media.
The toddler's parents don't want to show their faces, but say they left their daughter with Michi Daycare. And employees there have broken their trust.
As far as the daycare goes, I don't feel like they should even be open anymore.
Are they going back to that daycare?
No. Absolutely not.
For now, the parents are grateful a kind stranger helped their daughter.
We're blessed that Joy found our kid and that she spent the hour, trying to help her.
Now, I went to Michi Daycare where I talked to the owner who says his lawyer's telling him he shouldn't comment on this situation right now. The parents have also contacted the Department of Child Services who have opened up an investigation. Reporting live in South Bend tonight, Andreina Centlivre, ABC 57 News. Spanish music, rich traditions, and people fill the pews of Our Lady of Hungary. Father Kevin Bauman started at Our Lady of Hungary back in 2011 and says this site you see wasn't what he walked into.
We started with between 15 and 20 people.
According to data for the Center for Applied Research in the Apostolate, over the past 10 years, Catholic parishes have declined by 10% across the Midwest. down 8% in Indiana, and a drastic decline of 25% in Michigan. Father Kevin says about 4 years ago, Our Lady of Hungary was on the path to being a part of these statistics, until a connection was made.
The church at that time was just beginning to welcome our Hispanic community to the church. The community itself had formed here rather organically, seeking a house of worship.
And being that Father Kevin is bilingual,
Llega al pobre y marginado.
Barriers were easily overcome.
One of the things that we have to do in the church is cross cultural borders and linguistic borders. To do so, we need to have that language ability.
Now on a Tuesday night, during one of 3 Spanish-speaking masses offered, you see close to 100 people. But on a Sunday Mass, you'd be lucky to find a seat.
Misa del Pueblo, which is the bigger Mass, we can pull in usually about 400 to 500 people.
Now, the Misa del Pueblo that Father Kevin was referring to translates to Mass of the community or the neighborhood. And he says that back when the neighborhood was mostly Western European, they helped support the church. And now with a new wave of immigrants, history is just repeating itself. Colleen? It was a very rare opportunity. Performance groups from all over Philadelphia applied back in the summer, and only about 10 groups were selected to perform today. And one of the lucky ones was a Mexican folkloric dance group, a group locally here in Philly, but there was a woman from Battle Creek who now lives in Philadelphia who was part of that group, and she says that this was such a high-profile opportunity that she had to keep it a secret and couldn't even tell her mom about this great experience until a few days ago. As a dance instructor urges her students to warm up for the moment of a lifetime, the group's Saturday morning starts by filling the streets of Philly with the sound of stomps. But for one, Amalia Miralrio, this journey started back at home, hundreds of miles away.
I was actually back in Michigan with my mom, and a song came on that I was like, I wish I knew how to dance to this. Like, I love this music. You know, we've been listening to this my whole life. And I could just like picture the big, beautiful skirt.
Miralrio found the big, beautiful skirts when she moved to Philadelphia and joined a dance group called Folklorico Yarazzi.
Means someone who's loved.
And that's exactly how dancing to this music makes Miralrio feel, bringing on emotions that can only be shown through action.
Spirituality is about the things that there aren't words for, just like dances. And so I think it's a really good fit.
Dancing for the Papal Visit is the connection Miralrio is talking about. Her and about 15 others have been practicing for days to perfect their 10 minutes in front of the Pope.
I think most of us have not gone a day without dance in weeks. It feels like, at least.
And the practice paid off, as Miralrio ended the day dressed in a white traditional Veracruz-style dress, crowned with red roses and a smile on her face.
I feel like I cannot believe that this is real.
Now, the security was so high at Independence Mall that they weren't even allowed to videotape the performance, but Amalia says that it was a success and it's an experience that she will never forget. Reporting in Philly, Andreina Centlivre, ABC 57 News.